It's almost the same, but I think it's my favorite. Yeah, it is simply bigger. It's a different season. That was in the summer.
I think it's on the phone.
We're gonna. Can I unmute her?
I can't find it, but you know what?
Probably,
I'll send it to another one.
probably. Yeah, I had
I didn't think I had any. Your eyes are even more.
All right, cool. Thank you. You got your t-shirt on?
Yes.
Okay, Sean, we got it. Double up. Where's
So maybe we'll take twice as long. On that and on that.
This stuff.
I think she needed that one, so it should be ready to go.
Hello? Hello? Yes? Doesn't sound like we're echoing.
No, we're good.
I unmuted it, or I muted it, but
Question is, can people on WebEx
I
here?
don't know.
We have a closed captioning and transcription
I don't know what Karen usually
available
does.
on that. And you can click that on it and find out
I think I need to turn
your
those.
web audio.
audio
Can you-
down.
You,
I think
there should be like a closed captioning option. And if you click on it and you hear, or you see transcription,
Yeah, but I think last time she just turned all her audio down and then unmuted it and it worked. You just need to,
but if the mic is unmuted, then you're still gonna get like a duplicate audio input.
Can we see the text thread? Can you guys hear us on WebEx?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, are we on Facebook?
yeah, or YouTube, yes.
Okay, so we have at least one communication outside.
All right, 5:36, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Start with approval of the February meeting minutes. We have a motion to approve the February minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
The speaker has to be off on that.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Let's go to the budget report.
Okay, from last year, there hasn't really been too much activity. We've had only $476 come in revenue. It's expected. We're in the middle of the quarter, so you're not going to get much licensing fees in. As far as citation stuff, that's probably, that's citations that have come in. So it's not a great deal of extra revenue at this point. Expenditures, we had $94,000 in expenditures last month, bringing us a total of $1.49 million in expenditures, which gives us a net of 59,000, or I guess a negative of 59,197. So this is going to bounce back and forth between revenue and expenses going forward. I don't think that there's any big surprises at this point. If anybody has any questions, these are the expenses, individual expenses. The front load truck, which is part of our agreement that we already have. We have the education and outreach awareness campaign with field trip. Those are expected as well. Other than that, they're all minor expenses, cost of services contract, which is also a previously approved contract. So really nothing to approve in that regard as far as a $5,000 expenditure that hasn't not already been approved. So I can field questions on the budget.
Just one request on the budget. We have revenues showing negative and expenditures showing positive. For future reports, can we show that the opposite way where revenues are positive and expenditures are negative? I think that probably makes it a lot easier for someone reviewing it, especially outside of this board, to follow it.
That's not typical.
Is it?
I pulled these straight from our budgeting system.
Okay.
So unless things got reversed, I will take a look at it. The one that came in your packet, I don't know if, well, it went to you guys in your packet. If that's got the negative, I don't know what's that.
Yeah, it does.
I just lost my connection.
Am I the only one?
I think it's confusing to look at it too.
I've been saying this for last several months, that we move the carry forward stuff down to the bottom.
Well,
And
yeah.
have it addressed and then move it up as we need it. Into budgets and whatnot, in various lines as we need it.
I can do that. The carry forward is listed right here.
But it's also accounted for under expenses.
They put it under there. I can reverse that expense out of the budgeted expenses and put it at the bottom. That's what you were talking about the last time? Okay, that's my bad. Okay, we'll do that.
And then as you need money in various lines, ask the board to move it.
Duly noted.
All right.
And I'll double check on it.
All right, so pending those minor adjustments, any other questions about the budget? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further questions, discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, budget is approved pending those minor adjustments. No correspondence before. We'll go down to action items. We have the Environmental Education Leadership Core Partnership.
So following up from last month's meeting, last month we discussed the possibility of applying for an EEL Corps member. So 2 members who could help with environmental education as part of our education team. You all asked for more information, so I requested it, and this is what I was sent. So EEL Corps is a statewide program. They have a lot of folks who work here in Louisville, and they've sent me kind of an impact report of numbers that they've seen, people that they've reached, and kind of some different programs and how they've been utilized in the past. So this kind of shows us an overall breakdown of how many individuals the program has reached. It's really only been in effect for about 7 years. And in that 7 years, they've reached 103,000 folks throughout the state of Kentucky. And those people report, so the members do surveying of the participants in their programs. And of those surveyed, 94% report that they have learned something new from the program that the EEL Corps members have presented. You go ahead, Pete.
What about the wide variation from year to year? What does that mean?
I think she's saying that they've started collecting data differently. So she especially says during the pandemic years that there was obviously a decrease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
She also gave me specific data on how EEL Corps has been used at other solid waste management sites. So Franklin County was a good case study. That's in Frankfort, obviously. So they have a solid waste member named Abigail. And Abigail has been there since the beginning of 2025. So she kind of gives a breakdown of how they've been using Abigail in Franklin County. So she has been doing that with school programs. And in your packet, there's actually kind of a sample of what she has sent out to schools in Franklin County, which is interesting because it breaks it down for teachers by how it's supporting their standards in the classroom. So she's got the science standards, the social studies standards, and how those things kind of combine to help her meet her goals as well as Franklin County meeting their solid waste diversion goals. Within Louisville Metro and Jefferson County, she also gave me a breakdown of kind of where people have been placed. Currently, there are members at Creasy Mahan. There's 2 at Jefferson Memorial Forest. There's 1 at the Nature Center and there's 1 at the Parklands. So this is kind of what she's trying to show to demonstrate that we have a lot of folks that are in like the nature, and not so many folks that are in positions where they can work to change cleanliness and environmental outcomes in a different way. So from September 2024 to February 2025 in Louisville, IL Corps members have reached 6,193 Kentuckians. And in just 6 months, the Parklands and Jefferson Memorial Forest have reached the most, which makes sense. Jefferson Memorial Forest has two IL Corps members, so they're able to maximize their impact. And in that time, those most effective IL Corps members have been able to especially impact the number of programs that are developed. So our team sees that as a great benefit, as somebody who can really sit down and look at what curriculum we're presenting, where we're lacking, analyze that overall, and help provide more structure to that program. So last month, we left it at a tentative request. This month, those numbers are more set. So for each IL Corps member for a year, it is $8,500. So for 2 IL Corps members, it would be $17,000. And the benefit of having the 2 over 1 is just like it demonstrates with JMF, Jefferson Memorial Forest data, that those 2 people can balance off of each other, can reach more folks, and their experience is better, which then leads that to be more likely that they're able to help recruit year after year if they have a positive experience because they had someone else in their cohort.
Could I ask, where's Creasy Mahan?
Creasy Mahan,
Something Goshen.
it's on the outskirts. So technically that might not be in Louisville, Jefferson County,
Well,
but
I
it's
think it
kind
is
of on
Oldham,
the, it's
actually.
Oldham, yeah.
But, yeah.
And then also the Passionist Earth and Spirit Center.
That's over by Bellarmine. It's a smaller nonprofit. But they run nature camps and programming with immigrants and refugees as well.
So it sounds like the request is $17,000 in funding for 2 IL Corps members.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Question? No worries. What line item would this come from?
It would come out of our personnel.
I was actually I was trying to find in our 5-year plan where this would like fit in. So I haven't really gotten through much of the 5-year plan yet. You know, as it stands, I think this is a great idea. I'm just not sure that it's the role of our board to fund it. So that's just, you know, my kind of brief analysis without reading through our 40-page 5-year plan.
Can I ask why it wouldn't be? I mean, if part of the role of the board is to help increase diversion and sustainability efforts, like what would this, you know, if you're looking for a place for it to fit in the 5-year plan, like why do you think it doesn't fit that, I guess is the.
Well,
I don't mean that to be
because
challenging, I'm just trying to.
Sure, that's, you know, I would say that there are a lot of things that we can do to lead to litter abatement, to recycling, adoption increase, diversion rates, increasing, things like that. And I'm, you know, I'm still not super, I mean, you're far more familiar with this program than I am, but I'm still not sure how this specifically will contribute long-term to our goals.
If I could, what I would say is where I feel like that this fits in, is in a couple of different places. One would be in the litter and cleanliness initiative, which is a chapter in the 5-year solid waste management plan. I don't think that this is necessarily called out as a action item of the plan, but that's where it would fit. And the second part would fit because these people would also be helping us with like business recycling. And there are many action plans on improving education around those types of activities. The problem that we have is that we haven't fully developed those programs yet, which would honestly be a great opportunity for these people to see as something that's developed and deployed. So I feel like that it fits. It's a supplement to the education that we have within the plan, which is plenty of education initiatives that these people could help us with.
And then how would we collect data in order to report out that the investment that we're making has had the intended impact? Is that something that we would be able to get like on a like quarterly or
They do.
biannual?
At a minimum, they do quarterly reports. Each member is responsible for a quarterly report where they report, and that's where that data comes from on the first slide that talks about number of interactions that they've had, and all of those things. That's member reported data of how whatever they're doing, if they're going door to door, if they're in a classroom, if they're at a business, they report those metrics. It might even be a monthly report.
From our standpoint, it's all, measurement has always been very difficult, particularly when it comes to cleanliness or education. How do you
So
say
it's
that you,
difficult to find the correlation
they are.
or attribute your effort to a particular impact one way or another. Okay, any other comments, questions, feedback? We do have a motion and a second on the floor. So do we need a roll call vote for something like that?
Yeah, we probably should if we're spending quite a bit of money. So we can do a roll call vote.
Okay. Well, I would still, I like the program, but I would still vote no for now, based on the information that I have. And Deidre?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is the Mike Hext.
Yes, Mike Hext. We have the appointment of Mike Hext to the advisory committee as disposal facility representative.
Okay, I
You have Mike here.
thought maybe Mike would be here tonight, but he is not. Mike, I will tell you that Mike is, Andy, Mike is with WM. And he's been around the Waste District, Brightside, many programs in the past. I think he's got a long history. He would be replacing Marie Burnett, who was another long-standing member. I think he would be a good asset, and we'll maybe be able to quickly fill a hole in our advisory committee with somebody that's experienced from the waste collection industry side. Andy, do you have any other?
No, I mean, especially being with WM, it's a little bit awkward to say like, yeah, Mike's great, but he really is. I mean, he's been involved in the industry in a lot of different roles, and on boards before. As Steve mentioned, he was on the Brightside, board for I think almost a decade. So I think he's very well versed in how, waste disposal, recycling, and sustainability efforts are in their current state in the area and what we need to do and what some things that other areas are doing that we can track out.
What organization was Marie Burnett from?
She was also WM, and she was representing disposal facilities, which Mike would be representing disposal facilities.
Okay. Is it, do you know, I mean, I don't know if there's even like what the pool of organizations would be for that, but is there any concern for continuing to have WM being the
I don't think so, and the reason that I'm saying is that we have representatives from waste haulers that also have disposal facilities, so they we're well represented by disposal facilities throughout the community. I think the only one that we don't have a representation from, but they do attend, would be Republic in their popular level transfer station. But they attend quite often. So I still think that we have good representation throughout.
Okay, and we don't need Mike to be here in person.
No.
To appoint him. Okay, any other questions, feedback about this? All right, so I don't think that you can.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain. So.
All right, does anybody else want to make a motion to appoint Mike Hext?
So move.
Second. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mike Hext is appointed to the advisory committee. All right, the annual solid waste management report approval.
Okay, so I sent, this annual report is one that we requested an extension for at the last meeting, which was granted to April 1st. We typically take a little bit longer than normal because we have so many different reporters, and that held true. I spoke with the state 2 days ago, and they said that we could have an extension to April 15th, but they recommend that we move forward with what we have, and we can send any information that we get later to be amended in the report with no problems. Where we are lacking, we had one reporter that we've been trying to get for quite a while to report today. It's not included with this in the report at this point, but it will be before it goes out. We have about 8 small private haulers that still have not reported. Their impact on any numbers are going to be small. So when we have them licensed, we just cannot get them to do the report. And we have some data that doesn't look exactly right that we're working with individual reporters to confirm the data. So we're not quite there. I don't think that we're far off on any of this, and I think anything that we do would be okay, particularly when it comes to the certification of the litter abatement funds. We are complete when it comes to the litter abatement funds. So this report is due annually. All these things here on the screen are things that are contained in this report. It basically gives you a snapshot of everything that's taken place in 2024 related to solid waste management. It helps the state determine if we're on track with our 5-year solid waste management plan. So they review this. They also pull information from it and say, hey, can you guys come and do a presentation at one of our workshops because we really like this program that you guys are doing. That happened a couple of years ago. So, and they share this information with other waste districts and counties throughout. Hey, Louisville's doing this, you can contact them. So it's a really good thing. So to get into it, one of the things that we always have to do is figure out how much total is landfill. Particularly, we have to report on how much waste goes out of the state because the state doesn't get those reports. So last year, Jefferson County landfill 1,030,000 tons of waste. 306,000 of those tons moved out of the county and into another state. So that's one of the things that we report. All of our ordinances require yard waste to be offered to every resident. We prohibit yard waste from being mixed with other waste or being landfilled. Our storm debris is always handled in normal collection or drop-off sites. That's not always going to be the case in case if we get a massive storm. We may have to bring in a contractor to help us do curbside collection. So in 2024, there were 18,451 tons that was collected at the curb, and there was 43,000 other tons. We had several tornadoes and storms last year that impacted that number. We also have to get reports from each individual recycling facility. We get these through ReTrack, which takes place of the DEP form that is done. We break them down. We've got 8 metal recyclers. You can see the different types of recyclers, which is a good cross section. Where we need more is probably in that C&D, shingle, concrete inerts. They're mostly beneficial use. In the actual report, there's an appendices, B, section 9, and that has those facilities in it. That's what these are. I didn't think that you guys would want me to send that or copy that. So that has garbage, recycling. We also track all of the reporters have to send us the tonnages of each commodity that they're recycling. We aggregate that and come up with different categories. So, I mean, this represents a lot of different people doing recycling. So generally, you're going to look at containers, fiber, mixed plastics, single stream as pretty much your mainstream recyclables. You can see that we're doing pretty close to what we have done in the past. We're a little bit down on fiber, which honestly, it's not necessarily surprising as people move away from newspapers and more into electronic stuff. The single stream is down for a second year in a row. I can tell you that is concerning. That is part of the data that I'm still working on. What is good is food waste recycling is up, which is great. And
It's doubled the last 2 years.
The single stream looks like it's a slight increase from last year at least.
from last year, yeah, the last 2 years, I found an anomaly in this year and last year that I'm trying to determine what is up because we had a significant drop last year. And I think at the time I mentioned that it didn't seem right. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. I think it's probably a reporting issue, but we'll see.
But prior to 2022, was it more consistent with 2022 or was it more consistent with 23, 24?
Oh, I would say that it was more consistent with 22. And in fact, I would think that it's a little bit higher in previous years.
Okay.
So you'll see when I get to one of the other statistics, a little bit about what I'm talking about. The food waste is a good thing. I know that one of the composters in town was working to get some additional machinery that would sort the plastic packaging off of food waste. So if something goes bad in the grocery store, typically you couldn't have somebody stand there unpackaging it all. So he's getting a depackager, which I'm not sure if he has, but I do think that he is ramping up and getting a lot more food waste, which is great. That's huge. Everything else is pretty much on track for where we're at. I would say that with some of the smaller reporters, they have much bigger ups and downs in what they report. I don't know if they hoard it and then report it next year, whatever it is. But it all averages out. Sewer sludge, we didn't get the numbers this year. I don't know if that's because MSD isn't taking it to have it made into a beneficial use as a fertilizer or not.
I also see that used oil went from 1,400 to 10,000. So I don't know if that's a new haul or a new recycler.
A new reporter.
Okay, yeah.
And that's one of the things about all these reports. When I go through, I'll have a hauler take it to somebody else that I don't have licensed. Could be out of county, could not be. and I try to get that number. So you'll get these swings. But the way that we report our full number is generally on a 4-year rolling average. And that pretty much averages out so that we're not having these big wide swings and we can actually see which way we're trending.
I'm surprised that Ferris is each of the 3 years. I mean, a big jump this last year, but even before that, those are in tons, right?
Yes,
That's a massive amount of ferrous metal.
it is.
Where is it coming?
Commodities will go up and down. People will hoard it and then they'll suddenly do it. The numbers are still big. I think part of where we have difficulties in tracking the tonnage is you would get some industrial consumer good metal that would get slid into there. Very difficult as it's feeding into these conveyors to get accurate counts.
So you think that's like an inflationary result, basically, of the commodities market increasing in price so that people can sell whatever they've been holding on to?
Typically I would be able to tell you that by looking at the salvage yards, because when metal is down, the salvage yards are getting a big pile and then it goes down and then suddenly they're empty. But right now I can't really tell you that. I would say that it probably does have something to do with commodities. Bruce Blue is my contact on that. Bruce is not here, but he's the man that he has his finger on the pulse of everything metal that's going on.
Household hazardous waste was similar to the prior year, but a big drop from 22. What, it's not being accounted for somewhere else, is it? I mean, I hate to see household hazardous waste being dumped in the garbage.
Well, household hazardous waste goes into the garbage.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But not typically. I can't tell you why that there was such a big drop there, but it's something that I probably looked at when that happened. It could have been that we dropped off a reporter. I do know that there was a fire at one facility. If you lose material there, somebody goes out of business and suddenly all their reporting information goes away. And you also had, I know one recycler that basically he left, it was a shingle recycler, he passed away. And right now there's mountains of shingles sitting on property that doesn't have a home, that we're gonna have to figure out something to deal with that.
And then I think last year, wasn't this right, that we adjusted was that just a seasonal adjustment that we did for what's the Preston Great Lane location? You know what I'm talking
I'm
about?
not familiar.
Because isn't that where hazardous waste goes?
Oh, household hazardous materials.
Yeah.
The price made a big jump, more than the amount was coming in. So I can't say that that's a significant number. You know what? One of the reporters, which is a petroleum recycler, has not reported. So that could account for some of those numbers. So as I said, I'll tell you, these numbers will continue to change as you get this. It's not an exact science. You try to get people to report and you try to get them to report accurately. So you can make adjustments throughout the year. So where we're sitting, residential and commercial recycling, this is that 4-year rolling average. Right now, you can see these are the amounts that we have. Our target rate that was set back in probably 15 or 14 is at 27%. And right now we're sitting at 27%, which is great. We met our goal. And the good part about it is that the numbers on an annual basis is trending to be pretty decent in that regard. So I think that number is going to still remain consistent moving forward.
Especially in an urban environment like this, 27% is really quite good.
I believe that 33 is the national average.
In the southeast though.
In the southeast, I would say you're probably right. Okay, so this is the second one, recycling and beneficial use. So some things are used as fill. Construction and demolition is also recycled, and it's very dense, very heavy. So it really kind of jumps our numbers up. You can see that we have a goal of 90%, which we'll never get to.
No.
Last year, we were at 50.8. Now this year, we're at 49.1. That was a massive drop. You can see here in 2024, we went from 50 to 42. That was one of the reporters that I just got today. I'm hoping this number goes up. I don't think it's going to go up very much because it's not as much. They're not capable of doing as much. This goes back to a facility that was being closed out with an agreed order. So the waste was being beneficially used. Now they're trying to recycle the material, and they're not able to recycle as much as they were able to beneficially use. So
Yeah.
this is something that we saw coming a couple years ago, that we thought would happen. So, it's a pretty big number.
And the tons are, the tons from that facility aren't accounted for yet, but if you look at the total, if you look at average tons, 2021 to 24 and 22, the 2020 to 2023, if you look at recycled and landfill, they're flipped, but there's not a gap, right? You're not missing 30,000 tons. It's roughly, 1.97 million in each one of them. And it's just that flip.
It's
So
a-
it's not,
as soon as that facility that had what it did. Okay, that's pretty much on the recycling side. Another part of this is education, and what I would tell you is these are the things, and you guys have probably heard about these things multiple times. We won't get too deep into them, but I will tell you that they are in Appendix C, Section 11, education details, and you can see that in the full report, which I think
They're here.
we have full copies of it for you, of the annual report and Appendix C. It does not have all of these reports in it. Litter, and this is probably one of the more important parts that we need to pay attention to, because we do get grant funds. Last year, the county received $390,161 in grant funds. We have to account and make sure that we've spent that on litter abatement activities. Last year, we spent 2.2 million on litter abatement activities, which includes cleanup and education, which was a waste district education program. That would be the
Field trip campaign,
yeah, what was that?
last year, clean together.
Clean together. So that's on there. This is the top one is the Clean Collab, and that is hand collection crews that are going around all the major arterials all throughout the year, not just right before Derby. They're always busy going out collecting litter. So they did over 3,000 road miles. And they collected an equivalent of 16,899 bags of litter, and so on and so forth. You have your urban and suburban street sweeping. We can only count 25% of the cost and 25% of the weight, because a lot of that material that you collect is going to be road grit and that type of material. So I think 25% is actually generous in how much that they can consider it litter. LDP, Louisville Downtown Partnership, LUMED, Louisville Community Ambassadors. These are programs that we track, with the exception of the Louisville Downtown Partnership in the CBD. We don't really fund anything, but in the CBD with Louisville Downtown Partnership, through the Clean Collab funds, not the Waste District funds, they do fund that by about $100,000 to get continuous cleanup in a area that's from 15th to Floyd, Broadway to the river. It's where there's 7-day-a-week pickup for trash. It's just because it's a very congested inside of the city urban core. We have expressway hand cleanings, and that's the one that has Optera. That road miles clean was 424. The number of bags equivalent was 24,541. This is the expressways. This is only the ones that we pay for. What we say is that we use those against the litter abatement grant funds because it's the easiest. You hand them 4 or 5 different invoices, and you've covered that so that you're in compliance. So we do 4 cleanings on the expressways now. We used to do 2 and 3. Now we're up to 4. If you guys remember, we sent a letter to the state asking them to up that or to pay for some of it because it's their responsibility. They're just not going to do it. So we continue to have to do it. If it wasn't for us doing that, it would be 10 times worse during the winter. So thank you guys for those funds to be able to do that.
Questions?
I have, yes.
Great report. I was really enjoying looking that over when it came out. Couple of questions. The 2 things under SWIM's labor, the Clean Collaborative and the Urban Street Sweeping, are those already budgeted somewhere else in the SWIM's budget, like the general fund? Or is this board paying for this?
No, it's not this board. It was created, the Clean Collab was created probably 4 to 5 years ago.
Correct.
And Metro Council and the administration put together a package to fund that. It goes countywide. The number of miles outside of USD is relatively equal to inside of the USD. In your folders, there's a page that has this. You also have all the different invoices for each one of those. And what I would tell you is that if you want to see what the Clean Collab does, there's a website that's listed in this package that you can go, click on that map, click on a roadway, see when the last time it was cleaned, and see the number of bags was picked up. So it's really nice to be able to do that. You also can see where all the litter baskets are located as we continually push those further and further out of the USD.
So the SWIM's equipment, those are FEMA rates, which are, I don't want to call them pretend numbers because they're real numbers, but they're created purely as a result of calculations from FEMA rates provided by the federal government.
Where we don't have.
So that's not anywhere coming from a budget as such.
Correct. When we use our Workday, our work order system, they set them up as FEMA rates. FEMA rates include everything that has to do with that vehicle, depreciation, everything that there could be. I personally believe they rate a little bit high because, their rates for the entire country. For us, they're probably a little bit high.
I'm really impressed with the Clean Collaborative numbers there today. They a lot of road miles, a lot of pounds and equivalent bags.
Yep.
But then the Aptera, it's a minimal number of road miles for they're getting a fair amount of weight in bags, but we're paying an awful lot of money for really few miles compared to the Clean Collaborative.
Yes. So part of this is that they're doing acreage. You have
Right.
like the interchanges, you have a lot of ground. You have a lot of wide berth, whereas on other streets you have a very narrow berth. I think that's part of it. We're kind of stuck with using the state's contractor.
Yeah, because you can't send your people out there, right?
We did it in certain occasions and gotten our hands slapped. It's a liability issue. It's a contracting issue. We just cannot go up onto the interstates. So we're lucky in the fact that they will allow us to use their contractor and pay their contractor directly. So if you count that as being lucky.
We previously talked about, and this might have been Clean Collaborative, CEO. That I know that the state, at least, either the state contracts with CEO or we've contracted, or maybe both.
The state is contracting with CEO, and I believe that they're using them more and more as they become familiar with the system. Rob is not here tonight, otherwise he would be able to tell you. I think where CEO is kind of starting to be funneled to is areas that the state will only clean, contract will only clean where they mow. There's places that don't get mowed, so litter never gets collected there, and it's horrible. So I think that they're trying to direct them towards those trouble spots, which I think is a good thing.
Is that something that we can do as well? Can we utilize CEO? CEO, are you guys familiar with CEO? It's the, what's it called? Career Employment Opportunities, but it's, people who've been, released from incarceration in the last, couple of years, and we're trying to help them kind of like reenter the workforce. So there's an organization, I think it's national, but there's a Louisville chapter, basically, CEO. And I mean, it seems like they do pretty good work.
I believe that they do. We also have Goodwill doing very similar work.
Mhm.
We didn't include them because some of their work was kind of not necessarily litter. So we couldn't unmix it, so we left them off. But I think you have a lot of organizations out there that are doing litter work, right side, that are doing this litter work that we don't necessarily always get their data. I would say that we do a pretty decent representation of what's going on, but there's more of this going on. If you counted how many times a business has to go clean out their curb, that's a cost for litter.
Right.
That's passed on to all of us. So it's pretty much the same thing.
Last question I had, Pete, if I could. I was surprised at the sweep-all numbers were, from the standpoint of pounds and bags, were minimal compared to your Swift guys. I mean, same number of miles approximately, but that's not to say that the suburban areas are clean, they're not.
Well, what I would say is it's a little bit different. A lot of those locations are roadways that don't have on-street parking. And on-street parking just generates a lot of debris and stuff that doesn't get pushed off of the road from the wind of the car going past. So it builds up. So when we come through to sweep, we're, 3 times a year, we're scraping off a bunch of stuff. And it's a lot of weight. So I think that's part of it. And you get out in the county, it's where you have the turning lane and everybody throws their cigarette butts. It's not heavy stuff. So that I think is accounting for why you see that big difference. Okay, I still have more. Garbage collection. We have basically 56, although we probably have another 20 or 30. Some of them unlicensed, a lot of them unlicensed. We have 8 of them doing curbside stuff. We have 7 doing front load stuff. And we have 56 that we're reporting that are doing bulky loads. That's roll-off trucks. That's somebody pulling a trailer. That's a box truck or whatever. All of that is contained in here for each individual one. I won't go into any details on that, but I will tell you some of the performance metrics of this. And this gets back into that single stream and where we're going. Curbside collection, last year countywide, there was 281,000 tons collected. 27,000 was recycled at the curb. 26,000 was yard waste at the curb. You can see the different percentages. We're currently sitting countywide at 15.9%. 2015, we were up closer to 18%. 16, 17, 20, which was a COVID year. Everybody came home from work and everybody was at home. Waste went, it was a mess. But right now you can see we're probably at some of our lowest numbers, which is not a great thing.
So that number, I'm sorry, Pete, I apologize. The 15.9 includes Metro numbers?
That does include Metro. 15.9 includes Metro. You have a lot of unincorporated area that doesn't have nearly as many recyclers. In the USD, anybody can recycle if they want to. We actually believe that our participation rates are much higher than we thought, which is great. So I come back to participation and availability. It's a mandatory that you have waste collection. We believe that 97.3% of households have collection. There's a 92% occupancy rate. I take this from census data. Based upon Holler reports, 57.2 of people have the availability of recycling. 53% have the availability of yard waste. Obviously, we would want to get these numbers up to be much higher, but they are improving somewhat, which is great. What does 2.7% equate to without services? Over 7,500 customers out there without services. Where does it go?
Garbage too? Is that-
That's
Yeah,
garbage.
that's the difference for.
So
Customer service.
that is almost going to be entirely subscription, because if you're contracted, you have it. So it's, if you're urban services district or the city of, you have it. So this is in the subscription
This
that
is
we got
estimated out of occupied households
out of occupied households.
or out of estimated occupied households, right?
That is correct.
So
It's
there's
not,
probably an
it's not a
error.
perfect science, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's about the churn rate for a subscription. I mean, you've got a group of people that just sort of rotates between
Mhm.
haulers that I think, it's definitely not 2.7%, but it's probably 1.5 or 2% that are just lost in those numbers as
Yeah,
they.
that's what I was thinking. There's probably an error rate that we could attribute to it to decrease it a little bit. So maybe it's 3,000, maybe it's 4,000, still a decent amount.
Still a significant number, yeah.
Pete, can I ask a question? When you say availability of household recycling service, and it's 57.2, what exactly do you mean by availability? Because I know as a private hauler, we have to offer
You have to offer-
recycling, and urban services district offers it. So if
So-
it's availability, isn't it?
Availability
Roughly
is
100%.
people that have either a subscription
Okay.
or they are eligible due to they are in a contracted area.
Okay,
In the USD,
Mhm.
we think that we are somewhere up in the close to 50% of people participate. Some
So-
areas it was much higher, but it's available to everyone.
sure.
So that goes into that rate. The availability of it goes into that rate. The city of J-Town, the city of whichever, if all of their people are under that contract, it's available to them.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they're participating.
So are we saying that 43% of the people are not being offered the option of recycling? Because that doesn't.
They're not paying for it, basically.
Right, but that's
Directly or
a
through their.
participation rate, right, as opposed to availability, right? Is that,
We're
is the
not- I don't think we're
57%?
talking about participation rate. I think we're talking about 57%, based on this, are paying for it now, either directly through their subscription or they live in a city that has, like a bundled service,
Okay.
basically.
All right, well, sorry, that's where I got confused, because it's available. If it's not, then there's an issue, but if
Yeah.
it's available to everyone, but it's 57% that are under a contract or are paying
Yes,
for it. Okay.
give or take, it's not.
Yeah, okay.
The one thing I know, I think the 97, whether it's give or take 1 or 2%, I think it's pretty accurate, and that's what is actually reported in the annual report is more the garbage rate. We track it because it's our county. The other ones. This is just some of the other statistics that we use, front load dumpsters. How much of that is getting recycled? Right now, 4.4%, which is pretty low. Bulky waste, this is your roll-off haulers and the like. We break this out into MSW contents of structure. Beneficial use rate is 39.4. That's what drives up our the one number that encompasses everything. And the recycling composting rate is 20%. So there's actually more recycling that goes on in those roll-offs than what I ever thought did. So what I will say at this point is you've received pretty much everything in the annual report in a high level view. I sent the actual report to everyone to review. I have the backup invoices, and there's backup to the backup, which is individual daily trip cards. So this stack can be a full box at the end of the day. What I would ask is if you guys are comfortable that, number one, the information here is as accurate as we can get as of this date. If you feel like the litter expenditures have been expended on litter related activities, that we certify the report, knowing that we will amend once we get additional information in. You know, we're always subject to review and audit of the funds. We received an audit not too long ago on the litter abatement funds. We were fine. So I would ask that you guys could approve it.
You said we were fine or we were fined?
Fine, fine.
Okay.
So if anybody has any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I would hope that you guys could see your way to approve the annual report.
Very good. Very nice looking report. I was very impressed. Other than Bob Schindler's name has to be changed.
Well, that was on the 2023.
I did utilize last year's slides.
So if we make decisions based on this report, everything, and then for whatever reason, there is a review, whatever, is there any blowback on board members for authorizing this in good faith?
No, in fact, that's what they told me. They said they understand that it's not going to be perfect at the time, but it allows us, honestly, it gives us in a better position to go back and do this. Because technically, we are in violation of state CARES because we have not reported on time. That's why we get a written extension.
So if there's false stuff that Bob could be going to prison, I guess, according to that last
Yeah,
line.
we're gonna go after Bob.
Then leave Bob's name on there.
All right, do we have any questions, any further feedback about this, concerns?
I'd move to accept the report.
We get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, can I move on to the next slide?
Yep, let's
Okay.
go to funding cleanup at Louisville Loop.
Okay, this is a place that I came to you guys once before. And I told you that this was probably on the horizon. This is a place that is along this long road of the Louisville Loop where they were dumping over the riverbank, which is down about 25 to 30 feet, if you guys, some of you guys may remember it. One of the other parts of this NOV was that we had to secure the location to prevent additional illegal dumping, which we have done. We cleaned up what we can clean up. We've had surveillance cameras. We have caught what we believe was a auto theft ring that, because the most of it was car parts. Whether or not they were the ring, we believe that it was. No, we didn't cite them for being an auto theft ring, but it was a bunch of parts from cars. We caught them and it stopped. So right now, we believe that we've stopped it. We have it restricted, and we still need to clean it up. This has been slipping through the cracks for way too long, and that's my fault. So what I'm asking for, and this is a little bit of an old quote, but it's for the board to approve up to $7,000 for the cleanup, the final cleanup of this. It sits in no man's land. It's right on the riverbank, and it's extremely difficult to get to. I'll be honest with you, I tried very hard to find somebody that could clean it up, but just due to the location where it was from the riverbank side, we just couldn't get anybody to do it. Metro doesn't have anything unless we load it up on the Bella Louisville. I don't think anybody wants to do that. So these people have the equipment to be able to reach down and grab the stuff and move it out. So it would be great if you guys can approve that funding and we can get this one off our plate.
You said it's a little bit of an old quote.
It is.
You want seven up that maybe a little bit, just
Yeah,
cover yourself.
how old, I mean, do you think that there'd be?
Probably at 6 months. So it's well outside of its 30-day typical limit of a quote.
Okay, yeah, I would probably propose that we give it a bit more of a margin just in case, it entails more cost.
Typically, I think most things, when they advance contracts, they went up in that 20 to 25% range.
Okay.
If we adjust for that, if you just made it a clear 10,000,
Yeah, I mean,
probably
that's,
a little bit high.
I was initially thinking like 8 to 10, when should easily take care of it.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable.
Can we get a motion to approve the cleanup at, Lee's Lane location up to 10,000?
Sure.
Who would like to?
I'll make it. Okay, I'll second it. We both said sure, like that was somehow binding.
Good.
Just waiting for the other one to say it.
Sure again. Okay, you're sure. Any other questions?
Pete, you brought up a good point about future debris management issues like following a storm and whatnot.
Mhm.
You may want to put that name aside, because that's one of the more difficult things for a debris management contractor to do. We already have the contract with our vendor, but they might even not know of this company, when they come in and have to remove stuff at locations like this, along waterways, et cetera.
I agree. I think that part of Ashbred, who's we're
Yeah.
talking about, they would subcontract something like this out.
Yeah, but they may
So it
not,
would making them aware that this is out
Yeah.
there is what we would do.
Okay. Is there any concern that they wouldn't be able to get a certain amount of the debris down there if you said they're only using, like machinery to
Well,
grow it?
If they can't get it all, they shouldn't have quoted it. So
Yeah.
they're gonna get it all. Some of it is pretty hefty stuff. There's half a cars down there, at this point.
Interesting. All right, we have a motion and a second. Since we're approving up to 10,000, do a roll call. Deidre,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. New business. Proposed changes to ordinance 51.3 and 51.503.
These are cleanliness and waste hauler things. There's been a huge push, number one, on waste hauling and securing your load. That's one push that we have. We are also looking to fix some things in the ordinance to take it out to the state law changes. But really, it comes down to this. We want to increase enforcement to secure loads during transportation to reduce roadside litter. We also want to increase the license fees to send that to litter removal or conducting continuous education programs. And we also want to enhance reporting. This is something that, the reporting requirements haven't been changed since 2000 or 1900s or whatever it is. But what it comes down to is secure loads. I do have the actual ordinance. I couldn't put the whole ordinance up there. You wouldn't be able to see it. But basically, we define what a secure load is. When we have them licensed, you basically certify that your vehicles can do this. This is probably going to be one of them that's for the small hauler with the little truck, that they're going to have to be able to do that, because a lot of them don't. Going to require that if they get cited, to require an inspection to make sure that it is working if it's needed. 3 times within a 12-month period, we might expand that to do more trucks. Most of them that we're seeing are the small, mom and pops. So, those are gonna be the ones that we have to go after. And any owner and operator found to be in violation who fails to correct it, if they have a license, can have their license suspended until they do correct it.
Who enforces on your staff or?
That is, our staff.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on that section? The second section, licensing fees. Our license fees have been this way since probably in the 1990s. So we're increasing that fees. We're also getting rid of some language. We expect to generate, I mean, it's not a huge money thing. So it'd be about $41,000 that we get from licensing waste haulers, or an increase of about 30. That could fund a continuous education campaign centered on securing your load. And then reporting, we're basically updating that language. Some of the things is that we're trying to get a little bit more defined with what's getting collected and where, like subscription versus contracted, where the material is going by weight. And we're singling out and pulling out bulky waste where it's actually not reported very well. So we're trying to tighten that up a little bit. There's not that many changes in there, but I understand that there may be concerns from the haulers that in the community. Know that this is not a final version. If you have input that could improve this, please let me know. But if we do intend to file this very, very soon, this is Metro government that is doing this. I mean, obviously, we can't do ordinance. But this is them wanting us to do our due diligence as a waste management district.
Can I ask one basic question just about the change in definition? I don't want to get like too far into the weeds, but it changes from like 51,300 from any public or private waste hauler engaged in the business of hauling waste within the county must register, et cetera, to any person or business engaged in hauling waste or providing waste hauling services within the county must register, obtain, and maintain a Metro government waste hauler's license. So if I put a stove in the back of a truck, what stops that from being considered hauling waste and needing a license? Because it's not just waste services, which implies a fee, it's hauling waste.
I think that you bring up a really good point, and I think the people that we're talking about are people that haul for hire.
Okay.
It's not people that self-haul their own stuff. That would be the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think we just have to make sure, because I looked through to see if there was a definition in there anywhere, and I didn't see one, and that would open it to a lot of,
Absolutely.
a lot.
We don't want the people that, I mean, you can still have an unsecured load,
Yeah.
and be a regular person hauling their own waste. That doesn't mean that you can't have an unsecured load, but it doesn't really come into play for licensing, so to speak. So
Sure.
does that answer your question?
It does, but yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not an attorney, so this could be,
Well,
you know,
maybe
it
I would be
was
way
like
off, but it
sheets to be
looks like
clearer.
it's just a little bit too broad.
I would agree that it's too broad. I mean, I believe that someone hauling a couch in their truck that's wobbling back and forth and could fall out and hit a car, I mean, they need to be pulled over, fined, you know, that need.
Let me explain a little bit more about a secure load and how we can enforce it. We're enforcing it through ordinance. It has to be a waste. When you look at all these images of vehicles, sometimes it's not very clear if it's a waste. Sometimes it's a recovered material, which is exempt from the definition of a waste. So we're still feeling our way through this. We've cited quite a few people, but they're pretty much, man, if you saw some of the things that we've seen, it's just like, wow, how is that vehicle even getting down the road?
So would that mean if you've got a side loader that's collecting recycling and it's got paper flying out of the hopper, that's exempt from securing your load? Because it's
It would be
recovered-
exempt from our ability.
And I'm not saying that
enforce
in a complimentary
Uh,
way.
The separate part of this is the other enforcement measures that are looked at as far as litter.
Okay.
So while we might not be able to see it as an unsecured load, that doesn't mean that an officer following behind that got hit by that
It's not a litter
couch
violation.
is not able to pull them over and cite them. We just don't have the ability to stop and detain. 'Cause we're on the civil side of things.
Okay. Any concerns from other haulers? I mean, I don't know if the advisory committee has looked at this.
No, we're actually trying to move this pretty quick. I think as long as the board is okay with it, or, they still have these suggestions, it is still capable. It's unfiled, with the clerk's office, so they're still moving for any kind of changes. I would just ask that if anybody has those concerns, send them to us as soon as possible so that we can take a look at them. And, we want the best ordinance that we can get, one that's thorough and complete and is, enforceable. So,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I know enough about it to really sign off on something like that, but the definition piece probably does need to be sharpened up.
We have until April 21st don't wait till April 21st if you have some feedback you want to give to craft this, but we have until April 21st, that's the next filing date. So we do have some time, and I will address that definition issue that you raised.
Robbie Howard, County Attorney.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, we know. Okay, so are you asking for action on this?
No, just bringing the information to the board, just to give them an opportunity and haulers an opportunity to participate.
Okay. I think we might have an advisory committee meeting also prior to that, right?
Yeah,
But
we can bring it, we can mention it.
So maybe just get their feedback as well. since-
Sure.
Since we have some holidays there. Okay. Next. Ordinance 51.51. Illegal dumping.
Okay, illegal dumping, the reason that I'm bringing this to you guys is number one, the illegal dumping fines and fees comes to the Waste Management District. So what we're doing is we're tightening up the penalties on this, where basically, and this is also not in total lockdown verbiage here, so it's still a work in progress. We have found some people illegal dumping 4 times. We've taken their vehicle 4 times. What we're trying to do here is increase the penalty for second and third offense. So you can see that the language, third offense is gonna be $2,500. That doesn't include any cleanup fees. It doesn't include any impound lot fees, towing fees. And we're getting up to the point where most of these trucks aren't gonna be worth that, and they're not gonna come get them back, which probably 25% of people don't anyway. The other part of it is we're looking at increasing the mandatory impound period from 72 hours to potentially up to 30. These are the things that we're looking at on the county attorney side is
30 days.
30 days. And we're also looking to reduce the maximum number of days from a year to
90.
to 90. We're looking to do that because we don't want it sitting on the impound lot, taking up space for all that time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to help the impound lot out as well. So I think that there's some good things here. If anybody has any input, just want to get them to us sooner rather than later. Same filing date.
All for that. Okay, reasonable accommodation for waste services.
Robbie?
You don't want me to, is it okay if I move up?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
If you're gonna have quite a few questions, it might just be easier to.
You should be up here anyway.
If my answers are bad, people will think I'm Kevin Gibson. Okay, and I apologize for not being here last week. I had to go to Metro Council, which is on Thursday, and these are usually on Wednesday. I didn't realize till last minute that I had that change. So, but yes, we've done quite a bit of research into the ADA during the time that we've had here. I'm just going to go through the questions that were presented to me, at least the way that I interpreted those questions. What is the scope of the American with Disabilities Act? Well, it applies to employment that's Title I, which we're not dealing with here. Title II is generally what we're dealing with, and that covers public services. And then Title III, which we kind of deal with in this scenario, and that covers public accommodations and services operated by private entities. I was also asked about the mandate ADA has that disabled individuals be reasonably accommodated, extent to requiring that garbage pickup services enter onto a property to retrieve garbage would ordinarily expect to have brought to the curb for collection. To narrow that down, does the ADA apply to the provision of garbage collection? And based on the definition as I read it, yes, it does. I couldn't find a specific case that says that, but it applies to whether or not it's a normal function of a government entity. I would say garbage collection definitely meets that criteria. More specifically, in the actual language of the ADA, it states that it applies to all services, programs, and activities provided or made available by public entities, because that actually answers another question that you have. And so I would say garbage collection would fit into that definition. The next question I was asked is whether or not the requirements differ when it's a private contractor that's providing the services, and it would not differ. Either you would go under Title III, which has generally the same requirements, but I believe in this scenario you're going under Title II, which you would then pick up with the made available by public entities. So in essence, the government's hiring a private contractor to provide a service they would otherwise provide. So Title II would apply in that scenario. So yes, it does apply to private contractors. And then the final question, may a private contractor or a governmental entity apply a surcharge for those services? And no, they cannot. That one's pretty definite. And then if you all have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is there any difference with subscription areas?
That was the question that came up. I don't fully understand the scenario. If you could expound out a little bit about the scenario, the factual scenario that you're referring to.
No, I mean, if we're trying to make some kind of recommendation in general across Louisville Metro, then we want to make it in a way that's all encompassing. So, for example, if somebody in Bon Air who has, a waste hauler A, and everybody around them has waste hauler B, C, D,
Mhm.
and they have, some disability that they are requesting a accommodation for, then can that hauler?
No, I don't really see a scenario where one, the ADA is not going to apply. It's going to apply. It may be under Title III. Generally, I still think it would come under Title II. And then they're not going to be able to apply a surcharge. When I say surcharge, they're not going to be able to require additional payment from the person that's taking advantage of the.
Yeah, they can't say they pick it up by your garage, but we're gonna charge you $5.
Yes. Now you can.
So my
Unless
follow-up
there's
question, is, because I think in this, there was something along the lines of, if it's a service that somebody else would reasonably have paid for, like paid more for, right? So in essence, like if we're talking about backdoor service, and somebody might be willing to pay for backdoor service, and this individual is essentially asking for backdoor service, then can we still apply that standard with no surcharge?
I thought about that question, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure.
Sorry.
Because it came to my, if you did have a case where you're providing a service outside of what you usually would do, but it's provided to all of your customers,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of what the scenario that you're, then potentially you could charge for it, but I could also see that would be an attempt to work around the requirements of ADA by providing that service to everyone, but really the only people taking advantage of it are the people that are protected under the ADA. So
You'd have to make it available for everyone.
right, and everyone would have
essentially,
to
add it as like an a la carte option.
right.
And those costs, I think your description said the costs will be rolled into the total costs that everyone has to.
Generally, that is how, if you were going to charge for it, your scenario is a little different, and there's more nuance to it, because I could kind of see how you would argue that both ways. I think generally, no, you can't charge for it. So the burden would be on proving why you could charge for it as opposed to the opposite. If you were going to charge for this service, you would have to charge everyone that's taking advantage of the general services that you're providing. And then the cost, the extra cost potential that would go into providing this additional service would be everyone's, I'm gonna say burden. I just can't
It'd be
think of a better.
absorbed by-
Yes, everyone would have to pay for it.
And a lot of times what we'll do if we have a contract as a hauler that that's paid for by a city or, by an HOA, if we have a certain number that are built in, that will say up to a certain percentage or a certain number of disabled backdoor stops or backdoor stops, and then say if that goes above that threshold, then potentially the rate charged to the HOA or the city as a whole increases. But again, it's not being billed to the individual. Like if all of a sudden you've got a townhome facility that's predominantly seniors, that again, that cost would be absorbed by the whole group rather than the individuals there.
It's difficult for me to envision a scenario where you could charge someone who's taking advantage of it because they have ADA protections for that service.
So I may have misunderstood this, but I recently heard a presentation by TARC talking about paratransit, basically how that's not separately funded, but it does represent a significant expense, because if you live within 3/4 of a mile of a route that they're servicing already, then TARC is obligated to come to pick up that individual. But what I also picked up from there was that they cannot charge more than double the normal fare, which is $3, so that they can charge slightly more. They can charge up to $6 basically by law, by the ADA provision. I don't know if that's any different. I'm just trying to ask, flesh out any of the difficult questions. Like our city, and I think most cities are on board with this, but if there are certain pieces of pushback, then we just want to make sure we get that out.
I think in that scenario, maybe we are making an assumption that it's compliant with the ADA. Maybe charging that extra is a policy and not necessarily well thought out, and it could be still, a violation of ADA. I would say that would be something that we would want to consult with. If that can impact our decision, we would want to consult with the attorneys at TARC.
Yeah, I
We'll see
wouldn't
how they
mind. I
do
mean,
that.
if I would like to see I'm not saying they're not in compliance with ADA, because it has to meet the definition of, it's a provision of a service that's generally provided by the government. Maybe that doesn't fit into that. TARC generally would, but maybe that more nuanced provision of services wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what they base their decision that's okay to add that charge onto that, but I wouldn't mind looking at what
I'm
that
sure that
research.
TARC is compliant with the ADA because they have so many
Yeah.
things that they have to.
Please don't tell everybody that I'm disparaging TARC.
And I would be happy to look at their work, and I'll plan to do that if they'll give it to me. I guess.
But it sounded like our role with this board was maybe to compile information and recommendations to disseminate out to all of Louisville Metro, but including HOAs and cities that provide contracted services. So I guess that is where we maybe need some assistance on putting together some just like guidance on that, and maybe even where to post it or how to communicate that.
Okay. Do you think that's a project you could just give me guidance on what you're all looking for?
Absolutely. We can do a little bit of pure city research. We would have thought that this would have been an easy thing to do, but we'll take a look and see what other cities are doing and see what we can come up with. But we can definitely work on getting something as a starting point. And yeah, we can work with
If I may, Pete, and, sure, none of the haulers disagree with the reasonable accommodation. I think the bigger challenge that we're going to face is how do you determine which household requires a reasonable accommodation? If there's 5 able-bodied people in a household and 1 disabled, does that qualify as a household that requires reasonable accommodation? And, those are the things that we as waste haulers are looking at, is how do we separate this group of clients who needs this additional service.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just to elaborate, I honestly think that determining who is, what are the qualifications to be ADA? I think it's ambiguous. And, what documentation has to be shown to prove? Or is it just a note from a doctor? Is it a form that gets filled out? I think at Waste, there's a form that gets filled out. The city has a process. I think,
The
just
city
understanding
has,
what that would look like.
part of the city form, I believe, is an attestation that there is no other able-bodied individual in the household that could carry out this task.
But I would say if we're looking for an opinion, I think it would be, if there is a way to include something like that,
Mhm.
that would be more helpful than just saying this does fall under ADA. I don't know if that's something that you all can provide, but that guidance on what's required to determine eligibility is the biggest part.
The key here is guidance. We can't say
Oh,
what
right,
is and what isn't, but guidance is what it calls for. We don't want to get in neck deep into somebody's personal issues. What we're asking for is if you have a handicap sticker that's current, we will take that. Or if you have something that proves that you're ADA, not necessarily just a doctor's note, but something that they went through a process and they are disabled, we would accept that. So you don't have to go too deep.
So like a maximum reasonable burden and, ideally if we could have some kind of a template
Yeah.
where HOA cities, whoever could put in their city name, maybe their logo or whatever, if they want to do that. But that would make it easy, and it would also, provide some kind of a resource to the groups that we're communicating with.
When you say template, you mean like an informational template where they would.
I mean, like a form, like an attestation form that somebody would fill out in order to
Oh, okay.
receive the
Yeah.
accommodation.
Yeah, definitely. We do that.
Like some haulers don't require that, but for the ones that do, that would be a good resource.
I promise that
That's
we
good
can
stuff.
probably jump through the rest of this agenda fairly quick.
We'll sprint through it. All right. Anything else on this? All right, 2025 education and outreach campaign update.
So we have, this is a sneak peek. Field trip is gonna be here for the next month's board meeting to give the full report, but we had a nice meeting with them on last Friday, I believe, and they presented kind of their reasoning behind the choices they're making and based on all of our conversations we've had over time. And this is the kind of mock-ups of this year's bigger campaign, which would also be kind of part of the mini campaigns that we're doing, I guess. They kind of looked at it all as a whole and saw that in every aspect, we just want people to use our services and we want people to use them properly. So this, I guess we can call it a NOPE campaign. So that's just a few examples. So we'll be working with them on some details and you'll hopefully be pleased with it when you hear more next month. But we do have to give them a little bit of feedback. So we loved it, but this is kind of the idea here is pointing out some things that we don't want to see and then saying, nope. So,
There's additional ones of these. This is just 3.
Yeah.
I like the one bulky waste at the curb. Nope. Because that's a huge issue. They just put it out and hope somebody comes and gets it. So I loved it. It was really good.
And you said they'll be here next month.
yeah.
I would just, I mean, maybe not for billboards, but for any of the material that's out like at bus stops or flyers or whatever, would include like a QR code that will link them to what they should do rather than like
And
people
we
don't
have a
type in
page.
waste anymore.
We'll have a landing page that goes along with this. So yeah,
Okay.
so we'll make sure there's QR codes on anything for pedestrian wise. And of course, there will be digital media coming through when you're just on the internet and stuff too. But yeah, the idea is click through and you'll get to our resources page, which would be for any services. We already have the page. We're just going to edit it to meet the needs of as the new campaign comes up.
Is that just me? Like, does anybody else like, if you look at louisville.ky.gov or whatever /note, do you think somebody's gonna like type it in?
I think the QR code idea is a good one.
Yeah, and so if it links directly to a resource of like, hey, this is how you get rid of batteries.
Yeah. And
probably
actually
that'd be awesome.
well, we still have a landing page going that can be edited. It's clean.louisvilleky.gov. And it links to the resource page that I have the ability to edit. The landing page is free of all of the other Metro stuff all over the page. And I don't have the ability to edit that, but we can get it edited for this to kind of update it for the new campaigns. But anyway, more on that next month. This next piece, if we're ready to keep going, the district grant process, this is what we talked about at the advisory committee last week. So the committee has approved the guidelines with a few minor edits that we talked through at the meeting. And the main thing that we need to, in order to move forward, we do have to input money, like the amount. So we've been kind of going with this $50,000 in grants for the first time that we do this.
Total, or is that per person? Or
Total.
Complete, total.
Total with the, because on the solicitation, there's some check boxes and some ways that you can put information on if multiple grants could be given. So our idea is to keep it pretty vague so that we have the ability, because, first year, we're not quite sure what we're going to get. And so we could then give multiple grants if we get some good applications that are less, we can have it add up to that. So you just have to write it in a way that the people who are applying can kind of understand what their limit is that they can request, and how much money is available. So basically what I need is to know officially the amount. So that 50,000 is just kind of what we've been going with as a example, and the committee seemed okay with it, but for you all to tell me that. And then once we get all of that done, we're doing this in our eCivis platform, which is Metro's new grant platform. It is currently being used, so we're not guinea pigs or anything, but once that amount is approved, I can finish implementing all of this in the test site. And then I can actually send you all links. And if you are wanting to see it in action, you can pretend to be an applicant. We can move it forward and pretend to be an approver, or however we want to do it over the next month. And then the eCivis contact person, she's very helpful, and she'll just take what we have and put it into the live site when we're ready. So my hope is that at the next meeting, I would have, everybody would have seen it, and any, edits we have made, and then we can have that timeline drafted for the next meeting to kind of say, well, if we put this solicitation out here, it's going to say, here's when the deadline is and when the grant
And this is
timeline
gonna be
is.
based on fiscal year, right? So it would
It
start
doesn't
July-
have to
July
be
1st.
based on any particular year. I think it's up to us.
For us, I think it would be less complicated if we didn't cross fiscal years in our accounting system.
So
So like.
Well, and that
July 1 would
timeline
be-
seems like where we are right now.
How- However, I will say that the state does everything calendar year,
Great.
which is really tough. To try.
Okay, any recommendations on dollar threshold?
I mean, I think for the first pass, I
I
think
mean, we're
50,000
not
is a
committing
good-
to anything in the future, so.
Well, and we're not obligated to award all 50,000 either, so that gives a
Correct.
pool, and if we get $30,000 in applicants that we feel are great, then that could be the total.
Yeah. All right. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I thought we were waiting until next month for her.
Well, I
On
wanted
the
to
amount.
know for sure the amount that I use in this. It won't be live until after next month, but, it would be nice to already
So
know.
basically, we need an official amount recommendation.
Is there like a target number of grants that would come out of that 50,000?
We can set that if we want. I think the recommendation of the advisory committee was to keep it vague this first
Yeah, and
go
just see
around.
what comes in. Yeah.
Anybody like to make a motion?
So moved. I make a motion that we have a target rate of $50,000, up to $50,000.
Second.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
You can have it if you
Yeah,
want.
Questions, feedback? Since we're not spending money yet, we'll just do a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The threshold is approved.
Thank you.
Update, cost services study, sounds like there's no new information there.
Working on the Urban Services District, Department of Public Works, Cost of Services. And still trying to bring some home rule cities into it, but that's basically it at this point.
Okay, I know, open records requests have gone out to any of the cities who hadn't responded. So, just keep you guys updated on that.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, there were quite a few.
Okay,
So it raised a couple eyebrows.
well, we
Maybe-
need to talk about
maybe
that,
several.
let me know. Okay,
Uh,
ready to move.
And also on their records, open records request, instead of indicating that they were an agent of the city or solid waste management, anything like that, they had marked that they were an individual or a resident residing in the state.
Okay, Sandra, aware of that?
Very.
Okay, she's on the committee, so we'll have a discussion about it. See
Okay.
what the thought process is.
All right, staff report. Extension granted.
Don't need it, because we approved it, under previously. House Bill, 538. This was one, it's a multi-purpose bill. This was the section that impacted us, saying that any regulations that we create has to be approved within 30 days by Metro Council, which is impossible. The last I looked, which was a few days ago, it hadn't moved at all. It went to committee and that's where it's been.
Okay.
5 year. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. 5-year solid waste management plan amendment request.
I spoke with the state. They are sending me a letter that should be here this week that is going to give us our process moving forward to make that amendment. Shouldn't be cumbersome. They view this as a minor change.
Okay. Waste reduction center to go cashless.
Yes, due to some security concerns and just wanted to be a little bit better at what we're doing. We're going to go cashless. What we're recommending for people that don't have accounts is to get a Visa card, a prepaid Visa card that they can utilize to do this. It's just a little bit better. We don't like people to know that we have, that money is sitting in a booth. And it's just it would be a target in our mind, and safety of our employees is paramount.
Understood. Any concern that that'll lead to increased illegal dumping?
Yes. Will it? I don't know. I hope not. So we'll see.
And,
Sean.
oh,
Deputy Mayor.
yes,
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, and maybe I missed this. What percentage of people pay with cash now?
It's varying. I would say, well, unless you have an account, I would say almost everybody pays with cash. Almost everybody
It's
pays.
just important to note, though, we didn't go credit card till like last year or something, right? Like it wasn't that long ago. It was cash only.
Right. So we do accept credit cards now, but that transition really hasn't taken a full count. We're keeping data on it, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know that we'll see much of a change in it, but it would certainly be safer for our employees. If there's going to be dumping, it's probably going to be in this area when somebody gets here and can't do it. But we're trying to let everybody know what they need to do before they get here.
Have there been any security issues with the cash?
Not necessarily specifically related to that cash, but we've had some lockdowns recently. We've had some other issues in the past year or so. People running into that actual WRC, hiding from the police, right there next to the booth. Those types of things. So
Right.
I would just hate to think that somebody gets the idea that that's an
Yeah.
easy get. And, you know, it would be, is what I would say. It's quite a bit of money.
okay, we'll see what the result of that is. One thing I did want to bring up, I should have done this in old business, but I forgot. So we approved contingent on ADA compliance last meeting, the recycle coach expenditure or contract signing for 3 years. So first question would be, because we weren't gonna renew it until they confirmed with us that they were
Yeah, I
compliant.
haven't heard back from them. That is due in May, so we still have at least another month. I'll look into that again.
And on that same note, there's a little bit of concern about paying for providing a service that's essentially just for a certain group, a contingent of the local metro population. So recycle coach is really in its full capacity only used by the urban services district as of now. We talked about that it's potentially open to HOAs and cities and things like that, but it would be at a cost to them. And so if we're paying for this service for the urban services district with funds that are collected, presumably from all of Old Metro, then it follows that we should cover that cost if we're moving forward with it. Or
I wouldn't totally agree with the majority of it is in the urban services district, which is where you're talking about. I do believe that I don't know the exact statistics about what it is. And also, I believe that I would support, and I would hope you guys would vote to support paying for it for any of the, home rule cities where we can use it in the county. I think that's the mission of this board. So I would think that, number one, we kind of discussed this, we need to promote it to other individuals, other home rule cities. The question is, does it interfere with their private hauler? Does that private hauler supply that service? I don't know. But we need to make sure that people are aware of it. And every year that we've done this, we have tried to make sure that the representatives of home rule cities are aware and would spread the word that the service is there. We're more than happy to help out. So I push back just a little bit, but I understand your concern.
And they did not charge extra when we first got Recycle Coach. We could have added more cities and no one took us up on it. And then whenever I reached out again, further down the line, with, I don't know, they came back, and said, actually, we need to look at this, and then gave me a flyer that said, this is how much they would charge based on population. So, and I know I have that on the flyer, like the amount, and it is based on population, and it definitely, we've talked about it, that really the district could offer to pay for that rather than putting that on to the city or.
The other part of it is it was already designed with everybody's addresses in it. It's a matter of turning it on.
Yeah.
Is all it is.
Yeah, because you put any address in, your calendar just doesn't populate. So we would just need the data of when the pickup is based on the address. So that's all. we
Yeah,
need
so,
to do.
you know, would it be used, would cities, you know, take us up on it? Maybe, maybe not. You know, we've got a city like Shively, Kevin's not here today, but, you know, they have their own
Yeah.
public works, their own collection. You know, that might be something that they would utilize. So, you know, and that's also a situation that doesn't turn over as often. Even in cities, it's going to be at least 2, maybe 4-year intervals that you'll have consistent data. So, so I would propose that we amend our ordinance, I've been writing ordinances, our motion from the February meeting to encompass funding any cities that choose to elect to use the service, rather than putting the cost burden on them.
Should we do that now, or we're waiting for them to get back to us? On the
Yeah, on the accessibility updates, that's what we were kind of waiting on.
Yeah, my only question is whether it made sense to do it now or wait until we hear back from them.
Well,
I don't
Well,
have
our
a huge preference.
previous motion was to approve the funding contingent upon ADA. So theoretically, once they say, yes, we're.
Understood.
Yeah.
Then we just sign on the dotted line. So if we're making that decision and we're allocating funding for, you know, 30 to 40% of Louisville Metro, then we should go ahead and make that available without additional cost to other areas that would elect to use it. Any other thoughts, questions?
My other question is, before I would approve a motion, I would want to have an idea of what that cost, that total cost would be. I know that we had a breakdown on the.
She said, yeah, she said roughly $1,000 per city, but I mean, cities vary wildly.
Yeah, there was a range.
Right, so that's why I was just like, I don't know that I would feel comfortable, because it's, I know there's a cap on it, but it's relatively open-ended. I would want to know, you know, at least in a narrower band, like, hey, this would be 25,000, or this would be 70,000, you know, before.
too.
Like, I think, I mean, I'll ultimately approve it. I just don't want to approve it without some better number.
I think we can come back next month with getting with them and saying, what's our worst case scenario?
Yeah, if all the addresses are in there, if we turn everything on, and then we could approve it up to that number.
The one thing
just
that-
like we did with the.
We know that we
This we know.
can't do it in subscriptions,
Sure.
but I mean, and that's a sizable chunk.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we're talking about a great deal of money. That would be a problem.
If we're not going to double the cost.
I would not think so. Also, I mean, to the point of trying to get this to spread, we have to be able to get one home rule city to do this. And I think that it would spread.
Yeah.
And I can update that flyer, once we know for sure that the district would pay for it, I can update the flyer to not even include that. You know, because if a city official is gonna look at it and see the cost, I don't want it to be confusing
Okay.
on who would pay for it, so.
Okay, so then if we're waiting on cost information, then I would propose that instead of going forward with a motion to allocate funding where we don't know how much it is, that we would delay the signage or signing of this contract, since we have until May, to our April meeting when we'll have more information, and then we can, as a package, sign it, approve it.
I mean, that sounds okay to me.
That's fine for me. Mhm.
Right, sorry,
Well, yeah,
Draw
we
this
need
out.
action on that. Yeah, I'll move. Also move.
I'll second.
all right, any other questions?
I still don't understand the whole thing, so I'm gonna vote no.
Oh, you weren't here last meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, okay. So basically the Recycle Coach expense and app that we use right now is generally used in the Urban Services District. We voted to approve it. There's a cost consideration for anybody else outside of that that wants to use it. So ethically speaking, if we are representing all of the district, then we want to not create a resource or pay for something for a certain section of the population and not make it available at that same cost to the remainder.
So shouldn't you have a conversation with your members to discuss this before we vote on something like that?
Well,
So we
we're
don't
not,
miss
we're
the
not
ball.
obligating them to participate. We would just be covering costs. and things.
We are already covering the cost for the Urban Services District.
Right, but it sounds like we're pushing something on the other cities that.
We're not pushing it on them. We're not forcing anybody. We're going to make it available for them if they elect to use it at no cost to them, just like we make available in the Urban Services District.
I still don't understand it, but.
That's all right. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No.
All on Brian, please.
All right, and motion passes. All right, we're through, on to announcements.
On the screen up here, you see all the things that are taking place. The most important thing, the advisory, that's not the most important thing, but it's an important thing, is the advisory committee meeting April 16th and the next 109 board meeting on April 23rd. There are a lot of great events going on here. Pop-up drop-off being a big one. The last one was at Shawnee Park last Saturday, which the participation in that area continues to grow.
Karen, would you get a chance, would you be able to send out the date for the Feed Global Tour? It's just listed as 2 to 3 p.m.
Oh,
So just so we can.
Yes, thank
you. Yeah, just show up at their office. I need it.
yeah. and-
Which is probably pretty accurate.
So there's a lot going on.
And then if you have just the flyer, I've seen it like attached as a picture on Councilman Piazzantini's
For the pop-up?
newsletter. Yeah, and then we can also share it, a month later as well. Okay. Next 109 board meeting is not March 26th.
No,
April 20th.
somehow the
April
wrong
23rd.
agenda got put on here. So
April 23rd, yeah.
the one that's on the,
It was on the board that you just had it.
So April 23rd, I won't be here. I'll be in Portugal. Sorry, guys.
We feel terrible for you.
I'll try to join.
Yeah. Straw hat and beverage. No beverage on camera.
All right, next advisory committee meeting is April 16th. All right, at 4:30. All right. Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
It didn't melt down.
Thank you guys so much. This was a long meeting. You got a lot.
I saw the agenda, it was like,
Oh my God.
it was like for like, pouring sweat.
Yeah, I was really nervous about typing.